Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge and financial freedom. I've got a few headlines today. Kind of deals with the tariffs that rolled out at midnight. I've also got another one on the whole Bitcoin effect on some of those tariffs. How, that Trump announcement of a crypto reserve did not kind of switch those markets from bearish to bullish. It was just a little quick pump for the weekend, and then we continued that downtrend. The rest of the markets are still in that downtrend, and crypto is no different. So it's not going to diverge from those TradFi markets very much. Got username saying the mic is super low. Let's see. Did that fix it any? Let me up the gain a bit. Did that fix it? Is that better there? Hopefully it is. Let's dive into that stock heat map though. Let me get that pulled up. We've got a sea of red in TradFi. We've got Apple down 1.58%. In the pre-market looking quite neutral, up 0.1. We've got Nvidia sitting down 8.69 in the pre-market, also sitting down 0.89 for the morning. We've got Berkshire Hathaway also sitting in the red, sitting on a lot of cash, but still in the red, down 0.73 off of its close, looking quite neutral for that pre-market this morning so far, down 0.02. We've got Amazon sitting down 3.42 in the pre-market, also sitting in that neutral range, up 0.11. We've got Eli Lilly sitting green off of its close yesterday, up 0.99 in the pre-market, looking to take back some of those gains, down 0.55. We've got ExxonMobil sitting down 3.21 in the pre-market, looking a little bit neutral, down 0.46. We've got Tesla sitting down 2.84 in the pre-market, getting smacked kind of hard, down 2.17. We've got P&G looking quite nice off of its close, up 1.01 in the pre-market, looking quite neutral, down 0.02. We've got Microsoft sitting down at 2.14 in the pre-market, also getting hit kind of hard, down 0.95. We've got Google sitting down at 2.07 from its close in the pre-market, looking a little bit neutral. We've got it up 0.07. And for Meta, sitting down 1.97 in the pre-market, looking kind of neutral, down 0.33. For the crypto side of things, I forgot. I switched over to the crypto bubbles because I noticed that TradingView isn't always accurate. So I've got that top 25 here. And as you can see, it is still a sea of red. We do have Bitcoin down 9.5 for the daily. We've got Ethereum down 11.3. XRP down 10.4, BNB down 5.5, Solana down 15.6, Cardano down 17.5, we got Dogecoin down 12.6, Tron down 3%, we've got Pi Network down 0.07, looking kind of nice right now. We do have HBAR down 3.8. We've got Leo token, which we talked about in our Discord last night, up 0.01. It has been maintaining quite well, kind of like a BNB normally does on these big dips. It is moving quite sideways since it is an exchange token. We do have Chainlink down 16%, Stellar Lumens down 14.1, and to kind of wrap out that top 20, we've got We've got Avalanche down at 15.4, Litecoin down 12.3, SWI down a whopping 18%. We've got TON sitting down 9.1 and Shiba Inu sitting down 9.6. Kind of looking like a still seeing that sea of red so far. I do have a little bit more downside that I was looking at, but we will dive into that when we get to that Bitcoin chart. We've got that fear and greed for the stock side back in that extreme fear. Been talking about that one for quite a while, and it looks like we're going to reside here for a little while, especially with all the news that has been coming out. We do have crypto back in that extreme fear. Not too unsurprising, that big dip down of a 12%, dropping us 18 points on that fear and greed, going back down to grab all that liquidity. I see Army Piper in the chat. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a great vacation. Missed you in that Discord chat last night. We didn't have very many people in there, but we did have a lot of fun. We have this liquidation heat map looking quite bare on most of our time frames. We've got the 24-hour with a light hotspot of liquidity residing right to the top side of us at about $85,000. And then again, we have that hotspot back up at that level that I had been wanting to see us turn into some support at 91,100. Zoom this on out to some higher term time frames. Take a look at that 3-day. You can kind of see that move back down. Took out a lot of that liquidity. We do have another little hot spot that's residing right below us where people started putting in some longs at 82,400. We also have that nice hot spot sitting to the top side at 95,215. I think it'll be quite a move to get back up there. We have a lot of areas in between here and there. We will need to turn back into some support. If you take a look at that 1 week, you can kind of see we are nice and bare in both directions. So to find a nice strong level of support where we can see money flowing back in is kind of the move that I'm looking for. We kind of teased that in our members only Discord session last night. Both me and OC kind of had some of the same moves, and then like right after we ended the Discord session, those moves started playing out for both of us. So if you're not in that Discord, you're missing out quite a bit. It is a great value for both the YouTube members and that WAP upperclassmen. You can kind of see here on the 2 week as well, it is looking quite bare. We do have some liquidity residing back up at that $100,000. We will kind of have to zoom this out to the 3 month to really see where that bottom side liquidity is residing, and you have quite a bit of levels below us. 76,800 is going to be that first light hotspot, sitting with about $50 million. You have another hotspot at 74,300, and that's another 50. And then you have this nice hotspot where I have some limit orders set at 71,900. There is about $200 million sitting in that range from 71,100 all the way up to 72,700. So a lot of liquidity down there. If we're going to go down there and close that CME gap out, then you might as well grab all that money that's residing at the bottom. Let's say good morning to the chat. I've seen that chat moving this morning. Got Jesse Gulak dropping that link to the WAP upperclassmen. I appreciate you, Jesse. We've got Duality C in here saying hello. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a great day so far. Got maybe a Band-Aid in the chat. Good morning. I see username and Jesse Gulak and Kyle Fields. Good morning to you all. I see Buck and the Dusty Hunt. The Dusty Hunt saying he's like number 10. I appreciate you smashing that like button. It's a free way to support the channel, and it really helps us boost that algorithm. Army Piper saying I've been bearish for a while, and so have I. We've been taking a look at that macroeconomics, and it's been playing out quite nicely like we've been expecting to the downside. We got Los on crypto saying hello everyone. Army Piper saying Bailey's and coffee. I cannot do that. I wish I could join you, but I gotta go drive a semi truck in like an hour and a half, so I'll have to skip that. We've got a username in here, F Bomb. That's a new name. I haven't seen you here before. Good morning. Good morning. We got Jay Violet in the chat. Bass Crouton, another new name I haven't seen before, saying Bull Divs money printer model playing out. Oh, and that's I'll have to hop over to that economic calendar real quick before we dive into this Bitcoin chart. But it looks like we might be seeing that money printer go burr today, because there is some bonds being bought back. We'll kind of have to take a look at that. We got RCN246 in the chat. Paul Caruso saying, good morning, brother. Good morning to you. And we had Crypto Billy in the chat. If you didn't check out his morning motivational video, he went over 401ks. It is an amazing video. I loved it quite a bit. I was actually talking to my roommate about 401ks last night, so it was quite a nice thing to see, clicking on that morning motivational video and seeing a topic that I discuss with my friends quite a bit. All right, let's actually hop over to that economic calendar real quick, because I did forget about that. We've got here at 10:30 Eastern Time, the New York Fed Treasury purchases 6 to 10 year bonds. And this is a bond buyback. Last time they were sitting a little bit lower than the forecast. The forecast last time was 25, and we are now looking at a double buyback at that 50. So quite a bit of liquidity might be injected into the system here today. Definitely something to keep your eye on. Money printer has continued to go burr. Everyone's been saying, oh, we got to wait on those rate decreases. Money printer's been going burr. It's been going burr since last year, and there's no slowdown on that in the near future. They're trying to counteract some of the negatives we've been seeing on the macro. Let's hop over to that Bitcoin chart real quick, because there's not a whole lot more on that economic calendar for today. A lot of this will be in preparation for tomorrow, which we went over yesterday. I've got that 15-minute kind of pulled up here. I was looking at that quite nice this morning. I'm looking for a break out to the bottom side of this triangle here. We do have this nice flat top, which you saw heavy resistance at, and as you can kind of see here, our MACD is starting to roll over back towards our indicator line, failing to get back to that zero and looking for some more bottom side. We are starting to print that nice red candle, which looks like we might either find a bit of support back here to try to get a last little move up, or break down and roll out, considering that this money flow is now starting to come out a little more heavily. We do have that volume, which is slowing down on that buying volume, so looking for a little bit of downside for the morning. We do have this CME gap, which is sitting right below us. Might get a little bit of a bounce off of the top of that before we really dive back into that. Let's zoom this on out to a higher term time frame, kind of hide those real quick, because they're just a crazy line on those higher term time frames. All right, let's zoom that back on out to our daily look and see what we're looking at for the more macro. You do have plenty of room to continue this little downside move. As you can kind of see here, your MACD is still pointed to the downside. We did try to get a nice little pullback up to our indicator line once we got back up to some of these key levels I had talked about, and were unable to hold support back at that 90,800. It was a strong move back to the downside. Your prime oscillator also curving back down here. Reversal signal not really playing out too much as the money flow continues to come out on these higher term time frames. Your volume is slowing down quite a bit here on the selling volume, but it is very strong red. So we are going to have to continue to watch the money flow, because that money flow is going to be that big indicator that we are finding our bottom. We'll kind of have to see that bleed over from our shorter term time frames into these higher term time frames until we really get some strong green on this money flow. I am not very bullish, and I am looking for those strong bottoms. We do have that liquidity that is residing right around that golden pocket at 74,300. So if we do close out the CME gap and are unable to really hold the bottom side of it, I would look back down to this golden pocket that is 74,300. There was a lot of liquidity down there. You do have this 4 hour looking like it's also got plenty of room to continue running to the downside there. You do have that money flow holding very, very steady in the red. So continuing to see some selling pressure. This was all just a quick manipulation to the upside before we really continued that trend. You can kind of see here, it is not a higher high at all. It was just a lower high. So you could definitely kind of picture that move back to the downside after we got that strong move up. We did close out the CME gap that we made over the weekend and the fair value gap as well. So looking for that strong bottom. We are getting a bit of some curvature here on our prime oscillator, but you might just see this be more of a little sideways move as we wait for that strong liquidity to come back in here at our CME gap. You do have that 1 hour looking like you might get a slight pushback up toward 85,251. Try to turn that into some support, but I'm looking at that to be our strong resistance area, especially with money flow being red here. Your prime oscillator is moving quite sideways on the green, and this break above our indicator line is very sideways here. So might see a brief move back to the upside off of that before we really continue that trend up. There was that strong resistance area right to the top side of us as well with that triangle I showed you on the 15-minute. All right. Let's see what the chat's saying. Piper, did you give Tradefly his arm floaties? You always giving him some crap there. I'd love to see a picture though of Tradefly on a cruise with some arm floaties. So if you can make that happen, Piper, I would greatly appreciate that, and drop it in the Discord for us. Let's see. We've got it's already in my calendar, Alexandra G. Not sure what that one was. Oh, Billy Goat Tales tonight. It is Tuesday. Yep. So Billy Goat Tales tonight. I appreciate you dropping that link in the chat. Consolid CMG. Same for me, Jesse, but I'd say good morning in the evening, but now it's just becoming a way to say hi. Yep. Jesse's in that afternoon there. I say good morning to Jay Violet, even though every single time she's hopping in here, it is 8 p.m. I just it's a morning for me, and I've been up since like 3 a.m. and it is now 6 a.m. So I just say good morning to everyone because it is that time. Got 10-4 Rubber Ducky says username. We got Al Jr. in the chat. Good morning to you. Consolid CMG say let the shakeouts begin. Most definitely. Looking like you might see a little more shaken out, not just in the crypto side of things, but also on TradFi. Looking for some strong levels to the bottom. Let's hop over to this first news article because it kind of touches on that whole upside move and this giant retracement that we've continued to see. We got Bitcoin USD. Bitcoin wipes crypto reserve gains as traders react to looming tariff wars. Ethereum virtually wipes all of its 2024 gains as price slipped to a low not seen since November 2023. Bitcoin tanks 12% to 83,000. Bitcoin sank right back after a powerful upswing fueled by the strategic crypto reserve news. Apparently, the news wasn't strong enough to help sustain the leg up. Bitcoin washed out all its reserve gains on Monday and extended the drop early Tuesday. Trump tariff hikes were most likely behind the crypto sell-off, which followed after stocks were badly hurt during the cash session on Monday. You get a tariff and you get a tariff. Prices on Bitcoin were down more than 12% to hover around 83,000 a piece. Ethereum, the second largest token, was doing even worse. Ethereum prices erased whatever gains they had made in 2024. The ticker this morning showed a coin was going for less than 2,000. That's November 2023 levels. The U.S. president confirmed late on Monday that Canada and Mexico are indeed going to be getting a 25% tariff on their imports into the U.S. Global trade wars loom. No room left for Mexico or for Canada, Trump said at the White House on Monday. The tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responded, Canada will not let this unjustified decision go unanswered. China quickly retaliated with a 15% tariff on agricultural products, also restricted exports to 15 U.S. companies. On top of that, the Asia country added 10 companies to its unreliable entity list. Looming global trade wars dented all of crypto's optimism that was supporting the market. Yep, crypto coin mindset. You get a tariff, and you get a tariff. I loved that. That's why I had to read that one. It's that whole Oprah thing. You get a car, you get a car. Instead, it's you get a tariff, and you get a tariff. We'll kind of have to see the long-term implications from this, because in the short term, we all know what's going to happen. This will increase some prices. You will see inflation start to tick back up. But there are some long-term plays that could benefit the U.S. economy, and we'll kind of dive into that one after this next news article. This says a Trump session warning. We've been talking about a recession here on Piper Academy for a while. I've been talking about a recession since before I joined the Piper Academy. So to see this dubbed as a Trump session kind of annoys me just a bit, because it negates the fact that we've been heading toward this for quite a while. Making sense of the forces driving global markets, divergences between the U.S. and European equity markets, a trend that emerged earlier this year, is widening. There are several reasons for Wall Street's retreat: U.S. President Donald Trump's protectionist trade agenda, rich valuations, the flagging big tech rally, and mounting evidence that U.S. growth is slowing. Europe, meanwhile, started the year beaten down, relatively cheap, and heavily under-owned, so a bounce was always likely. But the rebound, now accelerating to the seismic geopolitical shifts underway that appear to be sparking an equally seismic shift in the continent's fiscal policies. Stocks are surging on hopes of growth-boosting defense and infrastructure spending, and possible peace deal in Ukraine. The euro and bond yields are now rising too, while the dollar and treasury yields are heading in the opposite direction. Trump's agenda appears to be exacerbating the U.S. economic slowdown. Could it even trigger a so-called Trump session? A recession seems highly unlikely, but is definitely on investors' radar. More on that below. Kind of going to skip over all of this because we've talked about it quite a bit. Atlanta Fed shock sounds Trump session warning. If you haven't heard the term before, you will now, as closely watched real-time U.S. economic weather vane is signaling that GDP is shrinking at the fastest pace since the pandemic lockdown. And this is something we've talked about here on the Piper Academy quite a bit. Not only me, but Piper has really been sounding that drum for quite a while now. The Atlanta Fed's GDP Now model estimated that annualized growth in the current quarter is at a stunning negative 2.8% on Monday, down from a positive 2.3% last week. A month ago, the model showed that growth in January-March period was tracking close to 4%. These estimates are published regularly as new economic data is released and can be quite volatile. There were 11 in February alone. Friday's shock reading of negative 1.5% was led by a record 153 billion trade deficit in January, most likely as firms front loaded imports ahead of tariffs. And Monday's decline was driven by soft manufacturing activity. There's even a chance of 2.8%, negative 2.8% turns into a positive reading in a few weeks. We'll kind of have to dive into this breakdown here in a second. Let me get that solo screen pulled up and my notes pulled up because I was doing some note taking this morning on this whole article. We have been talking about it quite a lot here at the Piper Academy. Buck saying recessions always get blamed on the people in office, and the people in office blame the last guy when it's actually our fault for giving them the checkbook. I can most definitely agree with that. It is quite a broken system. You have the politicians spending the money, and they continue to spend the money, and if you don't spend the money, then you lose the money, so they're incentivized to keep spending that money when really we should be slowing that spending down. And this is something that Trump wants to do and will kind of have to do to kind of fix this economy. I see lasers in the chat. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a great morning so far. All right, we've got that 25% tariff now in effect on both Mexico and Canada. You do have Canada, which imports a lot of oil to us, and that's something we will kind of have to keep our eye on, is those oil prices and energy costs. There might be a little bit of a tick up on that. They do require us to refine a lot of their oil, and we'll kind of give it back to them though, so that'll negate some of that, especially if they're going to be putting a 15% flat tariff back on us. That's what we put on them for their oil and energy costs. So to kind of see them do the same to us would really just kind of negate a bunch of that. But there are some other economic downturns that could kind of happen from that. Canada does also import a lot of food to us, so that's another thing we'll kind of have to watch. There are a bit of some inflationary pressures that will come with this. It is predicted that about a $3,000 annual increase on prices for a family of four. So not a massive increase on these prices, but definitely some more pressure on your consumer. Definitely something we'll have to kind of watch to see if wage growth can kind of keep up with this. That is something that Japan has been watching quite closely as their inflation continues to increase here. That will also kind of be that thing to watch for our next rate cut. Not only that, but the labor markets as well. You might see those labor markets take a brief hit here as we try to bring back new jobs into America. You did already have several companies like Samsung and LG talking about bringing a lot of their manufacturing processes back here if you did see that 25% tariff go into effect. You do have LG and Samsung both manufacturing a lot of goods in Mexico. They moved a lot of those factories from the US to Mexico. Those factories are still in the US. So it wouldn't take a lot of work to move those manufacturing processes back here. And those will be nice big luxury items like refrigerators, air conditioning units, and televisions as well that'll start to get produced here in the US, kind of negate some of those higher ticket those luxury items from being considerably more expensive. We'll kind of have to watch that one. You also have automotive, which might take a little bit of a hit. You do have a lot of cars that get manufactured in America, and they were taking advantage of those loopholes with the North American Trade Agreement to kind of just move those cars into America extremely cheap. VW took advantage of that. You will kind of have to see if those manufacturing practices for VW go back to Germany, since it would probably be cheaper to manufacture that there and then move your car into America. You will also see some of these other car companies like Ford, which also puts together a lot of cars in Mexico for extremely cheap, has a lot of the smaller parts put together in China, shipped over to Mexico, and then moved across the border. It will now be a little bit cheaper to just manufacture that car here and negate that 25% tariff. Well, the long-term benefits of this will be that labor market. You will have to revitalize that domestic manufacturing. And that's this whole Trump play on tariffs. We'll kind of have to see how well this plays out. It will take time for that to go into effect. So to see this continued downtrend, as there is a lot of uncertainty, is to be expected. It might be a bit of a wild ride, but the best time to buy is while things are down. So find those strong bottoms and buy those assets that you're for sure of on the long term. I've been looking back at TradFi quite a bit. I like some of those energy costs, and over this next week, we'll kind of be diving into some of those stocks I've been looking at and share those out with you. There are quite a bit of buying opportunities that will be appearing over this next year. That article also talked about those trade deficits, and that's something that these tariffs can negate, which is also something that kind of weakens the dollar as well. That will be a big move to watch if you can reduce these trade deficits, which are at all-time highs, considering that we're not in any kind of conflict areas globally with wars or anything like that. It'd be a nice move to see. We've also got the ability to kind of leverage these trade negotiations into more positive for the US. So make them pay out just a bit, and then we'll try to renegotiate some of the things that Trump was looking for. I do see a few alt requests. Let me get those added to the list, because I do have a few TradFi things I wanted to look at, and then I've got time for all of the alt requests. We've got XRP talked about. We can take a look at that one, because we love XRP here. We got ETH and Sol requested. I was definitely going to take a look at Ethereum, because I did have some more bottom side targets there that I've been talking with my roommate about last night. BC loves XRP. He had a 1 hour special love show for it. Yeah, that was a fun one with Lunar Beaches Crypto. Let me see. Everything you need to know about XRP. If y'all haven't watched that, and there's some things you don't know about XRP and you want to learn more about it, go ahead, check out that. I just dropped that link in the chat. Let's see. Got Arsand. Rumor is BC and Garlinghouse shook hands. There's a picture of it on the black. Oh my God, username. You and all your fun. We got Stu Lovell. I do hope you guys are not a one coin rules are. Diversify, many winners incoming. I am a Bitcoin maxi, so I own about 4 other projects now. I sold off all of my injective. It did me quite well, and I got several injective tokens from staking them. But other than that, I don't hold a lot of other projects right now. I did own a lot, and then in that first initial pump and our bull run, I sold off a lot at March when we topped off across the board. So let's hop into some of these assets I was taking a look at. I've got gold pulled up. I've been talking about gold quite heavily here. It is back in an uptrend. So I do have that Fibonacci extension pulled back up, and as you can kind of see here, we got back up to that 50% fib line. I did talk about that bottom side 2,835, and that's right where we got that strong bounce off of before we really pulled back into our fib extension. We did play around at that 236 very briefly before creating a fair value gap all the way up to our 50% fib line, and that strong area that we wanted to turn in back into some support at $2,917. So we'll kind of have to watch if we can get back up to that golden pocket. That is going to be our next real strong resistance area. We rejected off of it very heavily when we broke below it. We did get that strong bounce off of that 236, move back up to that golden pocket, and then really struggled to maintain that 50% fib line. So to see us turn this 50% back into some support and then move back up to that golden pocket is kind of what I'm watching for here. That's going to be that $2,930. Stu Level says gold smash through 3K shortly. Most definitely, that is our target here at Piper Academy, as well as on your TradFi banking. They've been talking about 3,000 gold for quite a while. They started sounding that alarm a little late here. I know Piper started talking about that last year, and I've been watching that for quite a while, especially as we've been seeing more market unsurety. These are the next kind of levels I'd be watching for after that golden pocket. You have $2,938, which would be a little bit of a resistance area we will do some battle with before we try to get back up to this platinum pocket at 2,947. We have been unable to maintain this platinum pocket at all. I think this is going to be the push to the upside that we see that platinum pocket turned into some support, especially with all the tariffs that are heading our way. We will see a lot more market unsurety that really leads to gold being bought back up. Let's hop over to that Dixie. We are back in a downtrend. Let me get that fib retracement pulled up. I guess it's showing but below us. Let's oh yeah, that's a very macro fib retracement there. Let's see what levels we're looking at. Let's zoom this on out to that daily. It is sitting on that hourly there. All right, we do have that 236 residing right below us at 104.52. That'd be that first little area I would watch for, especially with how things are looking on your prime oscillator and your MACD. You are getting that curvature back to the bottom side. We very briefly here broke above this indicator line and are now pointed straight back to the downside. Looking very ugly for the dollar, especially with all of the tariff news that just came out. You do have as well that prime oscillator getting that strong curve back down here. It briefly turned green as we got above this strong area that I wanted to see us turn into some support at 106.71, and it now looks like we're gonna be coming all the way back down. You do have an area that I will be keeping my eye on, and that's gonna be that 102.93. This is a long running trend line which we got some strong bounces off of back here, and it runs all the way as a resistance area from when we were unable to really maintain this 382 on the macro. So that's the next real area I would look for the dollar, especially with all the wonderful, amazing data that's been coming out of the US recently. I see Crypto Princess in the chat. Good morning to you. A good afternoon to you, since you are in the UK, and it's I believe about like 1 o'clock there, if I'm not mistaken. I see Lunar Beaches in the chat as well. Good morning to you, sir. I liked your video last night talking about that CME gap that we had just made and immediately closed and went back down. And you know, some of that Discord talk that we've been doing with those WAP upperclassmen, we teased a lot of some bullish news, and we were like, I'm probably going to get that strong push back up, but those economic worries will kind of overpower that. And that's kind of what we saw. Very heavily. It's 12:39. I was an hour ahead there. So 12:39 there. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Yep, Lunar Beaches really teased all of that. He was saying that announcement was coming. We talked about it in the Discord all weekend, and then what do you know? A Sunday comes and we get that announcement. So if you're in the Discord with those WAP upperclassmen, we have a lot of deep conversations there, and you get to learn a whole lot, and then hear a whole lot of nonsense sometimes, because we got Buck in there, and he likes to have a lot of fun, so it keeps that chat interesting. We got the Dusty Hunt saying Lonsdale trashing crypto reserves on CNBC time now. Oh boy, I don't pay attention to a lot of those traditional news outlets, but I might have to tune into that one, because I'm going to be trashing some of that crypto reserve talk here later with Crypto Coin Mindset on his channel tonight. I will do a bit of some trash talking. I was not overly happy with that announcement. All right, we had a few alt requests. I have XRP, Ethereum, and Solana. So if you do have any other alt requests you'd like me to take a look at, go ahead and drop those in the chat. Let's hop into that Ethereum chart first. All right, let me get over to my crypto list and take a look at Ethereum, because I was looking at it last night with my roommate. He was like, should I buy Ethereum now? And I said, no. I'm definitely looking for a little more downside. Let's zoom this on out to our higher term time frame, kind of show you what I was looking at. We were unable to maintain any of these key levels here. We did get right back up to that $2,911, which was that area I wanted to see us turn into some support on the macro, and then rejected off of it extremely hard. We did get a nice little bounce off of our 236 on an extension, and then we have now dropped back below it. We are sitting right above it very briefly, but that break below leads me to believe that 236 is very weak. I do have two strong levels I would kind of watch for. That first one's going to be 1,938, which you might see a little brief bounce at. And that very, very strong level I would look for is a very ugly level if we're going to come down on Bitcoin and close out that CME gap to the bottom side of us. Look for 1,547. That is going to be a very, very strong area for Ethereum to have some money flow start coming back in. This one day on our prime oscillator is looking quite ugly. Money flow is continuing to come out. Your prime oscillator is sitting light red, but it is pointed back down. Your volume has been maintaining selling volume for quite a while. Basically, all of 2025 has been selling volume for Ethereum. You do have that MACD, which is rejecting off of that indicator line on the bottom side. So looking for that continued downside there. You do have your 4-hour looking like you might see that brief little bounce here, kind of like we were talking about with Bitcoin. Get up to some key levels. You do have 2,287, almost 2,300 there, being that first little area you might see some strong resistance at if we do get a brief move to the upside. Prime oscillator sitting red, curving back up. Your volume is still selling pressure, but looking like you might see that curve back up here on our money flow to kind of make a brief little move up here. You do have that 1 hour also looking like you already saw some of that move to the upside playing out on your oscillators, but your price action has yet to really follow that. That's that strong area right above us, 2,000, about 200, which would be a brief little resistance area to kind of get back up to, see if we can turn it into some support. If not, the trend is looking down. Money flow here on the 1 hour is quite ugly. We have now dropped into the red as our prime oscillator is sitting green here. Your MACD's got that cross of our indicator line where our printing clicked the wrong button there. Got those all moved wrong. There we go. Printing some green candles here on our MACD and really waiting for that money flow to come back in. But looking like with how those higher term time frames look, that it'd be just a brief push to the upside, kind of create some equal highs before we really continue that move back down. Prime oscillator is looking to move a little more sideways here as it is green, kind of flatten out just a bit before we really bounce up against those strong resistance areas and then come back down. You have that 15-minute looking quite a lot like that Bitcoin was, where we're getting that brief little curvature here. We did get that curvature back towards our indicator line, looking to make a little bit of a curvature back up, but you do see all of these candles decreasing quite heavily here. You've got a strong resistance line above us on that MACD, looking for a move back down as your money flow is still in the red. Your volume is buying volume, but it is not outweighing that money flow here. So looking for some strong support below us. The short-term bounce would be that 1,938 before we try to get back above that 236 there. All right, that was Ethereum. We had XRP and Solana requested. Let's see if there's any other alt requests. We got Laser saying 1-6 trades, lost 3. I lost 2 trades yesterday, but my winners were ridiculous. I also teased one of those in the Discord last night. So if you're not a WAP upperclassman, I had that trade that I took right off of here. That whole green candle, I caught that whole move and then I cashed out for like 120% profit. So nice big 75x with some low capital. We got Wick 589 in the chat. Good morning to you. We're gonna see tongue-in-cheek stickers on maple syrup and avocados. T-Boy pointing at price saying, I did this. Oh my goodness. All of those all those Biden stickers on the gas pumps were quite funny. It'll be kind of funny to see if the same thing happens to Trump. BC 230318. Trump imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum. Bitcoin dropped 28% over 9 days. And this is kind of another thing that I've been watching for. This is why I don't think that the bullish news of a crypto reserve kind of outplays the economic news that we've been seeing. I did tease that last week. I believe it was last week. A lot of those metal prices will definitely be affected. You will see a lot of this play out on your housing and a lot of those new building startups. And we're not the only one that's going to be affected by this. You will also see Crypto Princess, the UK, getting hit over that. There was a news article that I was reading from last week that says that those aluminum and steel tariffs will really play an impact on not just America, but also China and the UK as well. Y'all do produce a lot of that, a lot of those metals for us. Oh snap, that is funny. I'm so down for putting stickers out. Can you imagine the Karen's reactions you could get? Oh, most definitely, especially here in Nebraska, which is a very red state. I would do it just for shiz and giggles. So that would I got a lot of thumbs up when I was wearing my Trump hat all of last year. Just a random grandma stopping you like, I like your hat. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, let's see if you like some of the negatives that come from it. But you do have a lot of long-term benefits that could also play from this as well. Let's hop into that Solana chart. I did not see any other alt requests. If there were some, the chat's moving extremely quickly. We are right back down to some of these key levels on Solana. that I had talked about wanting to see us come back down to, especially since Solana is also in a massive downtrend and has been for a while. Looks like we're heading right back down to that $130 level here on Solana and potentially the golden pocket. You have this 4-hour sitting quite similar to that Ethereum chart here, where your where your MACD just broke your indicator line and your zero line indicator line, looking to cross that zero line as well. Prime oscillator moving a bit sideways here as your money flow is continuing to come out. You do have a lot of buying volume, but it is not overpowering the selling that is going on right now. We will kind of have to watch for that money flow switch. And if you do see Bitcoin coming down to close the CME gap that is right below us, you do have that golden pocket sitting right below us at $118. That would be a very, very strong buying level. You don't have a lot below that, so there's a lot of negative space, and if you do break below it, it doesn't look very pretty. You do have a bit of an area you might see some bouncing at coming from those candles there. Let's make that a little bit thicker since it is a higher term time frame. That's going to be 106.51. So that'd be that level. If we are unable to maintain that golden pocket, that I'd kind of look for on Solana, especially with the trend being down. You do have this 1 hour looking like you might see a little brief move to the upside, but nothing too crazy. Your money flow is maintaining green here on the 1 hour, so a little bit different than Bitcoin. You do have this prime oscillator, which is moving quite sideways here as you are getting this move on our MACD, crossing that indicator line to the top side below the zero, so still looking a little bit bearish, trying to retest some of these key levels up here at about 145. We'll kind of have to wait to see if money flow really gets us that push to the upside. 15-minute looking like you might have already seen that top though. Money flow sitting in the green, but your volume is starting to become some selling volume. Prime oscillator sitting red and really bumping up against some resistance here. Your divergence has not played out any, and it's looking more like some sideways movements. And if we do see Bitcoin break to the bottom side off of that consolidation, then to see Solana do the same is quite expected, especially with how all of these charts are kind of looking a bit toppy on your shorter term time frame, and your macro does look like there's more to the downside. All EMAs are bearish on Solana. Yes, and this is where you're seeing all your shorter term time frames. These are the SMAs breaking to the downside, and you are sitting below that 200, which is normally an indicator of bearishness. You have these long-term SMAs quite constricted here, so to see it does lead for that nice potential of coming down to your strong areas, wicking out the bottom and really getting that strong push up if that money flow really comes in. That's Solana for you. And let's take a look at everyone's favorite XRP. XRP is sitting back at some key levels I had talked about. We were unable to maintain that $2.52, which is that area I was looking at for a potential sideways movement. Really dropped down heavily to our 382 here. That's that $2.30 that I had talked about yesterday. Looking to break a little bit lower here. Let's zoom that back out to the 4 hour and show you what I was looking at for the morning. You have that prime oscillator, which is getting a bit of some curvature here, but it is looking solidly red. Trying to maintain this zero line here on XRP. But if you don't see that money flow holding quite steady, which it's looking like you're starting to see that buying pressure really outdo the buying volume here on your 4-hour, it looks like you might get that brief pushback up towards our strong resistance and really come back down to this old fair value gap and $2.20 there for the top side. You do have a strong buying volume at about $2.10. That's that next little area I would look at for the bottom. This 4-hour does have a bit more room to run to the bottom before we start seeing some reversal signals start flashing. That 1-hour looking like you might see some continued sideways movement. This is a giant order block now, so to see us kind of move within this range, try to cool off these oscillators would be a move to see, but this MACD is starting to get some curvature here with an closing that gap with our indicator line. MACD also getting that curvature as well, still sitting green though, and your selling volume has slowed down quite a bit, so you could very easily have some quick money flow on your shorter term time frames come in and get you that strong pushback to the upside. You have very strong resistance off of some of these moving averages here. I believe this one is the 300 that we're bouncing off of right now. Zoom this on in to that 15-minute. Take a look at what the morning is bringing our way. You can kind of see we are in a bit of an uptrend here, making some higher lows and higher highs, but we were unable to get above these highs at $2.41. That'll be that short-term time frame that I would look at for turning into some support. Let's make that a little skinny so you can see that it is a shorter term time frame there. That'd be that first little area we're going to need to turn into some support. You have your prime oscillator looking red, getting some light curvature here, and your volume is very, very green here. So if you can see that short term money flow overpower some of that higher term time frame selling pressure, that'd be that quick move up that I was talking about towards that $2.40 before really trying to continue that downtrend and roll over there. That's where that 5-minute kind of indicates that you might be seeing that little brief push up, but it not being overly bullish, as your prime oscillator is still sitting in that red. It is a light red, and that volume on your shorter term time frame is starting to switch to some selling volume. So kind of looking for these key areas to kind of be touched all over again before rejecting back down, really closing out that CME gap on Bitcoin and seeing us come back to some strong support levels on these altcoins here. Let's hop over to the chat and wind the show down. Wick 589, no other nation will give up their nukes ever again like Ukraine did. Even if superpowers voluntarily disarm, decades of U.S. superpower influence is over. Looper was right. China has great weather. That's I think that's gonna have to be a show for another day. I can talk about that one for quite a while, and I might have to do a whole show on that, because I did me and Piper go back and forth on that, on the whole China thing. He's very pro America there, but I do see China having some negative effects on the U.S. economy. I do see it being a bit of a battle country that we might have to go do some battle with on trade wars. I'm not talking actual battle, but trade war battles, and kind of take back some of that manufacturing practices that we've been seeing them take over, because they have very cheap labor, and that kind of negated a bunch of the tariffs that you saw that were implemented. Let's see. Jay Violet, no problem. It's tough to find time for streams these days. Yeah, there's a lot of people that we work with, and so we try to not step on any toes. But that you can always go back and rewatch that one. It will be a very, very, very deep breakdown of that Trump announcement, especially since there was no time frame given at all. You might see a little bit of crapping done on some of those assets that were listed. So if you want to have some fun, join that video. tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with me and Crypto Coin Mindset. I believe Bedell will also be on there as well. So come over, hit that like button, subscribe to his channel. He does quite a bit of legacy content that will be coming out here soon. So keep your eyes out for that as well. Let's see. Where was that other comment? Jesse, what's the news in Europe like right now? They applauding T for his strength, or do they think he's a Russian asset? Oh boy, I'm gonna leave that one. I don't have a tinfoil cap ready. Think no country in the world likes Trump except for the U.S., says Nirvana. I mean, you do have a few countries that are happy that their country might be doing a little well in the short-term time frame. I know Europe's probably super happy because their stock market's up, and so is the euro against the dollar. So I will see y'all in Alex O Crypto's chat here in just a minute. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. I hope y'all enjoyed today's show. I had a lot of fun, and y'all had quite a bit of fun in the chat today. Make sure to trade safe today. A lot of these moves will be in preparation for tomorrow's heavy data drop. Other than that, make sure to wake up because today's going to be a good day.